In the 17th century, colonial settlement patterns in North America shaped the foundation and roots of American English. Let's learn more from the History of English podcast.
The History of the English Language. John Smith kept notes, and he eventually prepared an account of his first year at Jamestown. The account is commonly referred to as A True Relation of Virginia, and it was published the following year in 1608. The work is important to language historians because it contains the first recorded use of many words associated with North America during this period. Smith's account included a reference to creeks. He wrote, quote, "The bay where he dwelleth hath in it 3 cricks," end quote. And it's worth noting that he referred to them as cricks, C-R-I-C-K-S, not creeks. Creek actually became a common pronunciation of creek in many parts of colonial America, and it still survives in some rural dialects, though creek has largely replaced that older pronunciation. The interesting thing is that John Smith was using crick from the outset in the early 1600s. By the way, the word creek was in common use at the time, but it usually referred to an inlet or harbor along a coastline. It was people like John Smith who applied the term to small streams while exploring the coastal regions of North America. At the time, the word referred to a coastal inlet. So as settlers like Smith explored large bodies of water like the Chesapeake Bay, they would come across these inlets, which were really the mouths of rivers that emptied into the bay. So the word creek was applied to those inlets in much the same way that the word was normally applied to a coastal inlet or harbor. So that sense of the word creek evolved within early American English and was related to the early exploration of the region. John Smith also gave us another word to refer to a stream or creek. In a later work about the region, he used the word branch for the first time in the sense of a small stream. Branch is a French word that had been around for several centuries, but it was traditionally used in its botanical sense to refer to part of a plant, like a tree branch. But on a map, a stream feeding into a river resembled a branch attached to a limb. So the word branch was extended to these smaller streams and creeks. That extended sense may have been in use prior to this point, but Smith's use of the word in that way is the first recorded example found in a surviving document. English also had the word brook to refer to the same type of stream or water feature. That was an Old English word, and while it was used throughout the later American colonies, it was especially common in the Northeast in New England. So early American English had the words stream, creek, branch, and brook at its disposal to describe the same basic type of water feature. But those rivers and streams were so important and essential to life in the region that other words also came into use. Around this same time, there was a separate expedition to North America to find a northern passage to the Pacific. An account of the voyage contained a reference to a small stream as a run. It's the first documented use of the word run in that way, and it's another term that took root in early American English, and it led to many small streams being referred to as runs, like Bull Run in Virginia, the site of a famous battle in the American Civil War. This sense of the word run was apparently derived from the sense of the word as running water. Run is an old Germanic word, and different parts of England had variations of the word to refer to a stream or similar flow of water. In Wales and some parts of England, it was called a reen, R-E-A-N. In northern England and Scotland, it was sometimes called a rindle, R-I-N-D-L-E. In southwestern England, it was sometimes called a rhine, R-H-I-N-E. In fact, the name of the River Rhine in Europe is probably cognate with these English words. Other variations found around England include runnel, rundle, runlet, and rill. And there's something very interesting about those words. They all have an R sound and an L sound. And as I noted in an earlier episode of the podcast about those sounds, linguists call them liquids. The sound flows over and along the tongue in the same way that water flows over a smooth stone in a river. And that connection between the liquid nature of those sounds and the water in streams may not be a coincidence. Some linguists think that people naturally associated the sounds in words like rindle, rundle, runlet, and rill with flowing water. Regardless, England had a lot of related words for those small streams. And as I noted, a new variation was added to the list in the early 1600s when the word run appeared to refer to the same type of stream. And that's the version that John Smith used in his early writings, and that version took root in Virginia. Generally speaking, it appears that speakers in the region used the word river for the largest body of flowing water, the word creek for a slightly smaller and narrower body of water, and the word run for the smallest streams they encountered. But that wasn't all. The Dutch soon established a couple of settlements in modern-day New York. And thanks to that Dutch influence, the region around New York adopted the word kill from Dutch to refer to a stream or creek. The word kill meant a riverbed or channel in Dutch. The word survives in the name of the Schuylkill River that flows through Philadelphia. Schuylkill means hidden channel, so the name Schuylkill River literally means the hidden channel river. The word kill for a stream also survives in the name of the Catskill Mountains in New York. Catskill literally means Cat's Creek. No one is really sure what the cat part of Catskills was for, but the best guess is that it's a reference to mountain lions that lived in the region. So apparently some of them lived near these creeks, and the mountains became known as Cat's Creek or Catskill. Now, the reason I'm giving you these examples is because I want to illustrate how American English developed its own unique regional dialects from the very beginning. For the most part, as early American English developed, it was much more uniform than the English spoken in Britain. There was less regional variation, but differences did exist in various parts of North America. What people in Virginia called a run, people in New York called a kill, and people in New England called it a brook. And throughout the region, even into modern Canada, some people called it a creek. American regionalism was also influenced by settlement patterns from Britain. People from specific parts of the British Isles tended to settle in the same parts of North America. After all, it made sense to relocate near people you already knew, or people who you were related to. So specific regional dialects in Britain sometimes took root in North America and shaped regional accents and dialects there as well. Now, as John Smith and his men explored the rivers and streams of eastern Virginia, they encountered more and more indigenous people. And late in the year of 1607, while exploring one particular river in the region, Smith and his men were attacked by a local tribe and taken captive. They were then led from one village to another until they were finally brought to the leader of a confederation of tribes in the region. Smith referred to him as Powhatan, meaning the leader of the Powhatan people who were scattered throughout the region. After meeting with the leader in an attempt to secure his release, the men that Smith brought with him were executed. And it soon became apparent that Smith himself was about to experience the same fate. A couple of the native men grabbed him and held him down so that a large stone could be smashed against his head. But at the last second, Powhatan's 12-year-old daughter jumped in to stop the killing. She placed her head over Smith's head so that he couldn't be killed. At least that's the story that Smith later recounted. The young girl's name was Pocahontas. Maybe you've heard of her. After Pocahontas saved Smith's life, her father had a change of heart and decided to let Smith go. And this was an important development because it actually allowed for improved relations between Powhatan's people and the English settlers, who were barely surviving at the time. Pocahontas and other people from the tribe started to visit the settlement at Jamestown on a regular basis. They brought food to the settlers and helped them to survive those early months. In fact, Pocahontas took a liking to Smith and the English.